Hey, Chris.
Hey, Marjorie. Great. It seems like we've been miles apart and hundreds of years apart here. So even though we're just together.
Oh my God, we were just last week, 7 days ago, we were at Chris Camp together
Yeah.
in Phoenix, Fountain Hills, Arizona. Had a lovely time, and that group that we had at Chris Camp was just amazing.
Yeah.
And I noticed one of the topics that came up at Chris Camp that developed a lot of interest in that group was critiquing and coaching.
Hmm.
And in fact, it was such a interesting topic that I thought we should shoot at this video and just kind of post it up so other people can benefit from it. So, Chris, can you just go ahead and share with us a little bit more about critiquing and coaching?
Yeah. Well, let me just to kind of set that up is that, first of all, even during that, we went through really heavy into coaching. What is really coaching? And some people said, well, it's coaching anytime that I talk to somebody about something. And sometimes people said, well, coaching is only when you don't need the answers. And I'm just going to leave that one all up in the air. All I'm going to say is about having a conversation with somebody. And if you have a friend, a colleague, somebody, a family member that has a problem and you want to be able to help them a bit with that problem. And from an educator standpoint, I want to deal with this a couple ways. So first of all, I do want to set this up for you for some of the things that really happened during Chris Camp and things that
Mhm.
we've learned along the way. Number one is people generally, and if you're listening or watching, whatever it is, I want you to write this down on your own. If you don't take anything else away, I want this to be a part of it. People tend to teach the way they were taught. People tend to teach the way they were taught. And let me give you an example of how this pertains to me. Um, Very early in my career, I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version of this. I really wanted to excel. I came from years and years ago. I came from a roller set society. I loved cutting, hated roller setting. Sassoons were my go-to people. I loved them. I loved what they were doing at the time. Um, and the idea behind it was I went there and my life changed as a hairdresser. And I want to give absolute ultimate credit to the people that were there. And they changed my life. They rocked my world. But they really they had this teaching style that was you I don't want to say you put down people, but it was just here's the way you do it. If you did it wrong, it was no, you did it wrong. Here's the way you have to do it. And so when I came back and I came back to Canada, and that's the way that I taught. I thought that that
Mm.
was the only way that I was taught, and I thought that's the way that you should teach. So when it came to coaching and helping people along, I was that kind of persona, and
Mm.
it worked for some. It worked for me. It really got me off, but got me off the ground, put me in the running, and I was open for it. Other people weren't. And I'm going to use a bad word here and it's self-inflicted. They did never said this to me, but I know that that's the way I was thought of later. Is the way that I was coaching. I was a bit of an asshole, and because I thought that I had to really be hard on everybody, I had to go in there, correct them, I had to get them up to my standard of excellence, etc. And there's probably still people out there that think of me the same way, probably wouldn't hire me because of that. For those people who are listening, I've changed. But
Mhm.
here's what I've learned along the way is we may have been taught one way, but there is a rule or there's ways that you can coach people. And I want to put it to two ways because
Mhm.
even what I loved what you said there, Marjorie, about critiquing versus coaching. And quite frankly, those two words are synonymous. They mean exactly the same thing. Done wrong, you can damage people.
Oh,
Done
yeah.
right, whether the word is right or wrong, whether you're using the word critique, I personally don't like that word. If somebody says, hey, can I critique you on something? I immediately think I'm being called into the principal's office and whatever happened. And not that I was ever called into the principal's office numerous times. I mean, did I say numerous times? I mean, not that I was ever called into there, but I always have that haunting vision. Something's bad going to happen whenever you're critiqued. So that does that make sense, Marjorie? I don't know
Yeah,
if you
so
felt the
you're
same
you're
way.
saying coaching and critiquing might be the same kind of outcome,
Yeah,
or yeah.
you're exactly right. I mean, the reality is the outcome is the same. The perception can be different.
Yes, yeah.
So that's why I very rarely use, hey, do you mind if I critique you? And if somebody says that to
Nobody,
me,
no way. I would
yeah,
say no,
well,
no.
exactly. I get a bit of a butt pucker, and I'm waiting for the other shoe to fall, and that they're gonna say bad things to me, and I think that's where our little
Exactly.
voice comes in, and we go, oh my God, this is gonna be bad. I'm not looking for it, and I said to be on guard. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's a formula that we can use that if you do this and you can set up the process of coaching somebody, be it in the salon, be it if you're a family member and you want to coach somebody that's a brother and sister or whatever, because I mean, I don't have brothers and sisters, but I imagine those are the hardest ones to coach because they have to love you, so you can just tell them like it is. But sometimes I'm assuming that they probably might not like the fact that you're critiquing them or coaching them if it's not worded rightly. So give me a second here. I just want to bring
Yep.
up my iPad here,
Great.
and the idea behind this is oh, hold on one second. Here we are. There we are. Okay,
Great.
so critiquing versus coaching. I think if you think of this, there's a coach. You're always making sure that the person you're trying to grow the person as a human being, as a presenter, as a coach, from being personally grounded in things, if that makes sense. So it's more about what do we need to do in order to help that person grow. Now, we all know that we've all got these little voices in our brain, and whether you did something wrong or right, or it's a skill or a task, or you're being called, say, I just want to talk to you about something, even that alone, hey, can we talk? I've got something I need to talk about. That automatically can set person's guard up. So I'm gonna because this is my area of expertise, I just want to hit it on this side. If you're going to come up to somebody, and I want to speak to somebody as an educator right now, and you can use this same principle, whether it's family, friends, etc., is the first thing that you want to do, the first step is always remember if you remember this particular phrase. What you're looking for is, if you just think of this, what you're trying to do is prep them so that their mindset is in the right place. You're trying to prep them so that their mindset is in the right place. So what does that mean? Well, prep is, in this case, now Marjorie, if you're the first word, is that an anagram or an analogy? Anagram.
Anagram.
Anagram. Okay, prep is the anagram for the order that you want to do this thing. So number one, the first thing that you want to do with them is you want to ask permission. So if you ask for permission, now here's the reason why. You don't know where the person's head's at. They might be having a very difficult day. They might have had three people dump on them. And so the first thing that you would say is, hey, do you mind? I just want to, can I have permission just to help you with something? I just saw some things that you did. I think I could help. Are you okay with that? So in other words, what you're doing is just saying you're trying to set them up so that they can say yes or no. Because I always believe in the coaching process, you have to ask the permission, and if they say yes, then you say great, then you help them with it. If they say no, then I said, okay, good, I'll let it up to you so you can come back to me because I feel this will be helpful. Okay. First of all, Margie, is that making sense about the permission?
A
And that
hundred
you
percent. I was just going to ask, what do you do if they say no?
Yeah, well,
But yeah,
exactly. Because you got to remember it's their mindset. And if their mindset isn't ready for it, then they're going to slough it off, or they're going to make them angry, they're going to get upset or whatever. So number one is always ask permission. And then the second part is, and again, this is a fancy pants word, but you want to build rapport with them. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means, like, say, remember, if you went up to somebody and you said, I saw that you were doing, and I'm going to word this totally wrong, but I would say, hey, I saw you doing XYZ, and that's wrong.
no.
Yeah, and person are going to shut down with that
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
But if you can say to them, listen, hey, can I have permission to coach? I saw you doing something there. Now, catch what I'm going to say here. I've had that same problem in the past. You see it? And that's what we mean by rapport or connecting with the person. What you're trying to
Mhm.
do is you're showing some vulnerability on your own so that they're going, oh my God, you've had this problem too. Now, so it's not like, hey, I saw you, dummy, that you're having this problem. Listen, I'm the expert and I know how to do this perfectly. And I'm going to share with you, I'm going to show you out of the goodness of my heart how to do this. And all of a sudden you'll be having fingers pointed at you, and maybe in an upward motion in some fingers
Right.
that you don't want in that way. You
Right.
see it? So
Yep.
if you ask permission and then just say, look, I've had that problem, and you show that you've had that problem as well, they're much more willing to accept it.
Hmm.
So permission first, then rapport. Then now this is the part that I love in here is we want to make sure that you're encouraging them. What does that mean? Well, the idea behind is remember, if somebody's made a mistake and they've had to admit it to you that they've had a mistake, that first of all, their confidence might be a little bit low. And then once I'm going to assume right by this point, you've probably helped them, you've told them what to do differently. They might be trying it differently, and because it's the first time, they might make another mistake or they might not get it perfectly. And that's where you need to encourage. You've got to say, that would say, okay, Marjorie, I know you got this. I know you can do this. You're there. You see, and you're showing concern for them. And even inside that word, encourage, if you really look at it, underneath there, the fact that it says courage inside there. So you're trying to build their courage up in what they're doing because we know if we build their courage up, they're going to do it and they're going to do it repeatedly and they'll finally get past that point where they're doing it right and you've actually helped them with it. Okay? So the permission is the first one, rapport build up with vulnerability and then encourage them. You've got this stuff. Okay? So far, any questions on that? Is this helpful?
Great.
So last one. Last one, what you want to do is you want to make sure inside here that everything that you're doing is in a positive framing method, a positive charge that you're adding to them. Now, you might say, well, what does that mean? Well, it could be, remember, if it just simple things that you've got them past this point where they're willing to do it. And then if you started to do things like, no, no, just simple things of voice intonations, the way that you would say things, that's going to get them to hold back. And then they're going to go back right to square one. And they might feel now their confidence is gone, etc. So everything that we want to do is built up positive framing. So an example of that might be that you turn around and you see that I'm going to say they're doing it correctly, and you go, "Oh, I love that! I love what you're doing there. That's amazing." And then and saying, and two, then rather than saying, if you're saying, I'm going to say it from a haircutter's perspective, that is, let's say I dropped my elbow and it changed my finger angle. And then rather than saying, hey, you dropped your finger angle and that made I'm sorry, you dropped your elbow and that changed your finger angle. And now look at you your cutting line is off. That's negative framing. Positive
Hmm.
framing would be, you know what? I loved before when you raised your elbow. And if you notice, when you raised your elbow up, it dropped your finger angle. And that gave you that exact horizontal line that you were trying to cut into that section. You see it? So positive framing helps the flow going, keeps them encouraged, keeps the rapport and the connection going between the two of you. So you want to watch anything that you do with your voice, with your body language that would discourage them or they might see as a negative because they'll go back into their head. So just to kind of wrap this up and put it in a nutshell, I guess it was a different kind of shell. I'm not saying what I wear in the evening, but I'll leave that all alone. The point behind this is remember, ask permission, build rapport with the person, encourage
Hmm.
them as they go along, and keep everything that your facial expressions are, the way that your voice is, the way that you're catching them doing things right is always positive, and that keeps the connection and the encouragement going.
Awesome. I love that. So prep for improving, coaching, critiquing, and the idea that a critique could actually be a positive a
Yeah.
positive, I'm just bringing my video back on, a
Yeah.
positive part in the learning process is excellent.
Yeah, yeah, and just to remember that the words mean the same thing. You're trying to get to somebody to be a better person, but the point is, you just need to um,
Yeah.
you need to watch the way that you're doing it, so that
Yeah.
those people that are in a sensitive stage
Yeah.
actually will go through and trust you through the process.
Yeah. Love it. Thanks so much, Chris. We'll have this up and available for everybody as soon as possible.
Anything I can do to help.